people who really govern us now, namely the European Union.
Yeah, Evie.
You said Britain will gain a bit of confidence if we leave the European Union. Do you think that will be enough to counteract the massive uncertainty surrounding a leave vote? Because no one actually knows what the trade deals will negotiate or may not be able to negotiate will look like.
Sure.
Because the Leave campaign looks at one model, says that's not right, moves on to another one. No one has any idea of what this could look like. So
Well, I've tried to paint a picture in broad brush terms, that's all I can do in time available to me now, of what it would look like. It would be us continuing to trade with the member states of the European Union if it continued to exist, and trading with the rest of the world on a freely negotiated fair trade basis, which we're not allowed to do at the moment. We cannot conclude a trade agreement with India, for example. Only the European Union can do that. But we can negotiate our own with India or with any of the other rising BRICS economies, and we will do. And the one thing we won't get is TTIP, the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, which is an existential threat to everything that we hold dear in this country, or at least the majority of us do, which is being negotiated in secret between the EU and the US, and which would be an unmitigated disaster for us. And of course the Tories, Johnson, Gove, they could maybe try and sign a TTIP themselves, but I predict you, very confidently, I bet my house on it, that they would not be able to persuade the British people that we should sign the TTIP. And if they did, they would lose the next election largely on it. You'll have spotted that in my answer, I'm talking a lot about democracy, because I believe in it, and I didn't deal with the young man's point at the back. British democracy is very, very far from perfect. It's absurd that we have a hereditary monarchy. Happy birthday, man. It's absurd that Prince Charles will become our head of state, even though he's as thick as two planks. And the idea of a hereditary brain surgeon is clearly as preposterous as having a hereditary head of state. It's true that an unelected House of Lords is a stain on our democracy and needs to be abolished. All of that is true. But we've got far more democracy in Britain than we have in the European Union. That's my point.
Excellent. We have a chance probably for one more, possibly two questions. Mr. Mitchell, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I just wondered whether it would be a British government or just an English one.
I don't, as I told you at the beginning, I fought the Scottish referendum in 2014, and I absolutely accurately predicted the outcome, 55-45. So listen to me now that this outcome is going to be of the same order, maybe a point less. The Scottish people are quite canny with money. That's why I'll be seeing your teacher afterwards to get my petrol money for the drive here. We're quite good with money, and we know that an independence project predicated on oil at $113 a barrel, when it's only just reached $50 a barrel, doesn't add up. So if there was another referendum, and there's no legal right to one, and the parties all were very clear that this would be the last referendum in a generation. Well, even in these rapidly moving times, a generation is not 2 or 3 years. But if there were to be a referendum, I'm confident that the result would be the same. And by the way, look out for this point that I'm also predicting to you. The result on membership of the EU in Scotland will be very much closer than you would think if you just listened to the political class of political leaders who all pretend that Scotland is in love with the EU. We're just about to find out that that's not actually true. So I don't believe that Britain will break up. I'll fight to avoid it. But of course, the Scottish people have a right to independence if they choose it, and I hope that they don't, and I don't believe that they will.
you very much. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to leave it there. I'm going to hand over to Charlie in a second to give a vote of thanks. But this is one of a number of EU referendum events that are happening here at Merchant Taylors. It'd be great if we can get similar numbers along tomorrow afternoon to see Peter Lilly also talk in support of leaving the EU. And on Thursday, we obviously have a Merchant Taylors referendum. We also have David Gauke coming in to talk in support of remaining in the EU. And that will be at lunchtime, actually, in my classroom. That's EP 52B. So lots of EU referendum events coming up over the next week. And of course, the actual referendum date is Thursday the 23rd. So Charlie, if you'd like to take things.
So on behalf of all of us, I'd like to thank you very much for coming to share with us. And here's just a little token of gratitude.
Very kind.
Thanks.